Here is your Practice Transactions Learning Guide 1201. And in this learning guide, we are going to imagine that Abe Schultz is an owner of a business, Kits and Pups Grooming. And to open that business, what he did is he took $12,000 and invested it into his company. And you'll see he deposited a check at the PNC Bank. So we have to determine which two accounts are affected. And in this case, it's cash and bank. And because he invested the money, it is also capital. So we're going to go to problem 3-8 down at the bottom, the tab, and you'll see that the cash is increased by 12,000 and his capital is also increased by 12,000. Nothing happens in any of the other accounts. So when we go to find the balance, all we do is we just pull that down. 12,000 plus 0 is 12,000. We have no money coming to us, so it's 0. We didn't buy any office equipment. We didn't get any grooming equipment, so we fill in a 0. And we didn't borrow any money, so it's a 0, or we didn't buy anything on account. And we just bring down the $12,000 on the other side. So you look at the orange line, you'll see that we have a balanced equation here. $12,000 is equal to $12,000. The next transaction, Abe buys office equipment and he pays with a check for $350. So when we pay with a check, it's the same as paying cash, and we're looking at what we got for that cash, and we got office equipment. So we go over here and we determine which two accounts are affected. So because we got equipment, we know that office equipment must be increased by $350. And because we paid with the cash and bank, or our cash, that must be decreased by $350. And remember, if they're on the same side of the equal sign, this orange line here, one must be increased, the other must be decreased. Once I do that, I'm going to find the balance. 12,000 take away 350 is 11,650. I didn't have any sales on account, so I just bring down the 0. Office equipment is now increased, 0 plus the 350. My balance would be $350. And I didn't have any grooming equipment purchased, so that would still be 0. I didn't borrow any money. That remains 0. And if you added those two numbers up, if you added the zeros, obviously that's not going to change the value. But if you add these two numbers up, you'll see that that should be equal to the $12,000. So we still have a balanced equation. The next transaction, you issued a check for $750. So we know that monthly rent is an expense, and that's part of the capital account. And we're not breaking that out yet. We'll get that down the road. We'll start to break that out into more specific capital accounts. But for right now, we're just going to use the general capital account for that. And because we paid with a check, we also know that our cash is affected. So we paid $750. So we know that we're going to decrease the cash by $750. And then my capital account is on the other side of the equal sign. So we know that our capital must also be decreased by $750. And if you think about it, we're paying somebody else $750. So we're not increasing the value of our company by buying equipment or furniture. It's just we're decreased now. Our capital is decreased by $750. So now I have to get my balance again. And I see that 11,650 take away 750 is 10,900. We're still not owed any money, so we bring down the 0. Our office equipment stays the same. Nothing happened there. We also have not purchased any grooming equipment. That would be a 0. We are not owed any money, or I'm sorry, we didn't borrow any money, so it's a 0. And then our capital is now decreased by 750, so it's 11,250. When you add these numbers up, you should get 11,250. If not, you're doing something incorrectly. So we'll go to the fourth transaction. The fourth transaction, I see those keywords and they should jump out at you by now. On account. When you buy something on account, we know that we have to pay it back later, and we're borrowing money, so we're kind of creating a credit account or an accounts payable. So we're going to go back and we'll see that our accounts payable now, we owe $1,000. So it increases by 1,000. It's the money we owe increases, or the amount of money that we owe increases. And then what we got with that money, or what we purchased with that money, adds value to my assets. So it's grooming equipment is what we got. So that also increases. We have $1,000 worth of grooming equipment now that we did not have before. So nothing happened to my cash and bank. I didn't pay any cash yet. I didn't I'm not owed any money yet. So I just bring down my cash and bank balance. I bring down the 0 because I'm still not owed any money. I bring down the $350 worth of office equipment. That hasn't changed. I bring down my $1,000 because now I have $1,000 worth of grooming equipment. I still owe the $1,000, or I now owe the $1,000. And I bring down my $11,250 because that hasn't been affected either. So then we're just going to highlight that. And I'm going to increase it to 11 so that it jumps out at me. You can increase it to whatever size you think is going to kind of let you see your balances easier after each. When you add these numbers up, you should get $12,250. If you don't, then make sure that you check your equations and make sure that you check your tables to see that they match or that they're entered correctly. I go to number 5, receive $400 for services performed. So I'm actually receiving the money right away. It doesn't say on account. Notice that. So that's why I did not highlight this, but I highlighted that because of the words on account. We receive the cash right away. So my cash increases by $400. And because I performed a service, we generated revenue. And that also increases by $400. And remember, I'm using the capital account because I don't have those specific accounts broken out yet. So now I have to find the balance, and I see that this will be $11,300. And then I'm going to bring down my 0. I'm still not owed any money. I had the money right away. The $350, I don't have any more for equipment, office equipment. The $1,000 of grooming equipment has not been affected. I haven't paid down my accounts payable, and my capital now also increases, so I have to just adjust there, is $11,650. That revenue increased my capital. So when I add these two sides up, both sides should be equal to $12,650. If that's not the case, then we're doing something wrong. Again, we have to go back in and look. They both equal $12,650, so I'm going to highlight that and just adjust the size again. I'm going to make it bold, and there we go, so it's easier for us to see. I'm going to go into my number 6, issued a $540 check for partial payment of grooming equipment purchased on account. So when I see purchased on account, I have to reread this again. We issued a $540 check, so I paid a cash payment for that previous credit. So I paid $540, and I'm paying my original balance down from that loan or the credit that I had purchased on. So I now paid $540 of that original $1,000 debt that I had owed to whichever company I borrowed that money from. So my cash now decreases, and I am down to $10,760. And I have still not received, or I'm still not waiting on any money from a customer. My office furniture stays the same. The value of my grooming equipment stays the same, even though I paid the loan down. My loan now, or that previous credit, is now $540 less, so I only owe them $460. And then my capital has not changed. 1,000. When I add these up, both sides should be equal. And I just want you to think about which number both of those sides should be equal to. So if you added 10,760 plus 350 plus 1,000, you should have 12,110. And then if you added 460 plus 11,650, we have the 12,110. So both sides are equal to the same amount. I have a balanced equation. Number 7, we performed grooming service and agreed to be paid later. So if I'm going to receive the money later, I'm going to be paid later. It's $560. I performed the grooming service. So I know that my revenue, we generated revenue, we performed a service, is going to be increased by $560. And not my cash and bank. I have to go back because I almost put that in cash and bank. I'm going to be paid the cash later, so I'm going to receive the money later. My accounts receivable, we now have an accounts receivable. So I just have to simply find the new balance. So we have $10,760. It was not affected. $560. Now in my receivables, $350, $1,000 here. We now only owe $460, and my now my capital was increased by $560. So here I have $12,210, and you will see that if you add both of those sides up, that both of those sides will be equal. Thank you for watching. What I want you to do is I want you to now fill in your charts if you haven't already done so while you watched, and then I want you to find me the balance of the assets, or the total assets. So you're going to add all these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure that that's equal to the balance of your liabilities, and we're just going to say plus owner's equity. So I also want you to find this number too. If they are not equal, we did something wrong and we have to go back and fix it. If they are equal, we should be all good.